On this edition of Fulton Law and Justice, Fulton's Clerk of Superior Court launches a mandatory criminal e-filing system. And what does this mean and who's impacted? Well, the People's Clerk will explain. And later, Fulton's solicitor informs seniors about what they can do if they are victims of elder abuse. We'll hear from him in our Restorative Justice segment. I'm Jolene Butts-Freeman. Fulton Law and Justice begins now. Welcome to Fulton Law and Justice, your inside look at the work of Fulton's justice partners. Today we begin with news from the Clerk of Superior Court. There is no busier court in the state than Fulton Superior Court, and with all of those cases comes all of that paperwork. But it's 2017, and of course the best way to process all of those documents is by way of technology. Here's the People's Clerk with details on the new mandatory criminal e-filing system.
Hello and welcome to the People's Clerk. I'm Kathleen Tina Robinson, and it is my honor to serve as your clerk of Fulton County Superior and Magistrate Court. Our office is mandated to properly process, secure, and house all criminal, civil, real estate, and Board of Equalization records that originate in Fulton County. And with Fulton County being the busiest court in the state, you can imagine just how many records we have. Well, we are pleased to announce that we have launched a new criminal e-filing system for our Superior Court. Not sure what that means? Well, Shay Alexander is back with us to explain. Ms. Alexander is the Chief of the Court Services Bureau. Welcome to the show, Chief.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get into the nuts and bolts, can you please tell the viewers a little bit about your role in the clerk's office?
So, I am the Chief of the Courts Bureau. I report directly to you. Mm-hmm. I manage all of the civil and criminal cases coming through the county, and that includes magistrate court as well. So, small claims, dispossessories, divorces, felony cases. It is my job to make sure that we're doing what you're mandated to do.
And I must say you do an excellent job.
Thank you.
Now, we have launched a very, very exciting thing for our citizens and the justice system in general. So can you tell the viewers about this e-filing launch and what it means?
So e-filing, criminal e-filing is major. We talked about civil e-filing and it being life-changing, but this will allow all subsequent pleadings coming through the office after indictment for the attorneys to be able to communicate without placing documents and making copies and placing it in the mail. Everything is electronic, so once the discovery is served from one attorney to the next attorney, they're able to get it in an email format, and it's automatically connected to our case management system. So it's life-changing for the justice partners.
And what about the regular citizen? How does it impact them?
So there will be no need for them to come downtown to file any documents. If there are any documents that they would have to file, they could always do that from their homes, the private attorneys as well. And then the information is online. The access to justice is there. The information is online immediately. So where it could take, anywhere from 3 to 4 days, depending on, the mail and everything coming through. Once it's e-filed, it accepts it in the system immediately, and they're able to access it from our Odyssey case management system.
I know that the viewers are going to be very happy about that, especially our attorneys in the legal field. Now, as you mentioned earlier, some time ago we had the civil e-filing. Now, that process went great thanks to you and the team that you work with. You did a great job. So how do you expect this criminal e-filing? Is it a similar process? Do you think it's going to go just as smooth?
So back in October 2015, the civil e-filing was launched. all of the work for configuration and trying to just streamline the processes and determining how it goes from paper to the electronic process took several months. And so we mapped it out, but we mapped it out with the intention of going with the criminal e-filing. So this process is not as intense because we were prepared for the criminal. The civil e-filing, it was amazing. We even received an award from the vendor saying it was the smoothest implementation that they've seen. And the vendor has e-filing in more than 22 states. So it was an honor for our office to receive that award.
Yes.
But we anticipate that the criminal e-filing would be the same success as we had for the civil.
Okay, great. Now, going from paper filings to electronic is major, as you mentioned before, and I'm sure it will be a culture shock for some people. So what can you tell our viewers and people who will be utilizing the system to make them feel comfortable about this change?
And so, you think about, things are changing. We didn't have cell phones. We have cell phones. There's cameras and pictures and everything that we have now. So we've just encouraged all of the justice partners to embrace the technology. And like I said, we started it with civil over a year and a half ago. So no more paper files. It's no paper. Once you file the document electronically, it is the electronic record is what it is. So there'll be no files. The indictment will come through as normal. They'll hand down the indictments as they do now. But anything after the indictment and before the case is closed will be an electronic process. So we're just hoping that people are accustomed to the computers now, and if you're not, that you have someone close to you that's comfortable with the technology, so you'll be able to, with a click, be able to view the documents.
Mm-hmm. And staff will be available should people come to our office to assist.
And so we have deputy clerk facilitated training. We've opened the doors for all of the justice partners so that, once the training took place, you see it one time, but when it's actually time for you to do it, there's a lot of anxiety and people are like, oh, I haven't done this before. And so we've opened the doors so that we're there. If they want to come down and file their first document with us, we'll be there to assist to help them with the scan, but it's an easy upload, click, and it's in the system. The clerk reviews the documents, and then it goes straight into our case management system.
Well, I'm sure they'll find comfort in knowing that the staff is there to assist. So with Fulton County, because we are the largest county in the state, and we set the standard. So with Fulton County now being the first to do criminal e-filing, do you think that other counties within the state will follow?
I'm sure. We have set the tone for the state of Georgia. We're the largest county in Georgia, and if anything is going to work, we're the guinea pig for most of the other agencies when they want to do pilots on different programs. So we've just decided, based on your mandate to me, because I work for you, right? And so you've just made it clear to me that you wanted us to be the first and the best. And so that's what I think we've been doing with the civil e-filing and with criminal e-filing. I am sure we've already had phone calls from other counties that are interested in doing it, but they like to see us go first. So then when they jump into it, all of the kinks have been worked out of the system. So I am positive that once we go, since this implementation, that we will be able to assist the other counties with their implementation.
And having one system for the people throughout the state, I'm sure, will help as well, as far as being able to e-file through one system.
Right, and it's so much easier for the attorneys because, especially with Fulton, you come into one site and you can now, whether you are an attorney that practiced both civil and criminal, before we implemented criminal e-filing, you would have to come down to bring your criminal documents. And now you can sit at your kitchen table and you can do your civil or your criminal documents. And it's life-changing for all of us.
Great. I'm really excited about it. Any final thoughts for our viewers?
Well, as I think back, I remember the times we were actually taking the documents and writing in the big docket books. We had these huge docket books, and the entries were recorded there just with the pen and paper, and now to be electronically filing we're in the 21st century, and I'm looking forward to the more efficiencies and improvements we can have in the office.
Great. Thank you so much for all you do, Chief.
You're welcome.
To learn more about the criminal e-filing system or any of our services and other community initiatives, please visit us at one of our offices, call us, or check us out online. We take pride in assisting every Fulton County resident in every way that we can, because we believe in doing the right thing, the right way, each time for every customer. I'm Kathleen Tina Robinson, and I am the People's Clerk. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. When we come back, we'll talk about protecting our seniors, and we'll meet a man ordained by Dr. King. Our restorative justice segment is up next. Fulton County's senior population continues to boom. Now, according to a Fulton County State of Senior survey done by Kennesaw State University, within the next 2 decades, over 30% of Fulton County's population will be over the age of 65. Now, the good news about this demographic is that they are living longer. But the concerning news is that many aging residents find themselves facing a different kind of challenge. It's called elder abuse. This is one of the topics in our restorative justice segment.
Hello, everyone. I'm Keith Gamage, your Fulton County Solicitor General. It is true that because people are living much longer these days, elder abuse has in fact become more of a problem in our community. During Older Americans Month, I shared with seniors that this is a problem that our office will deal with head on. Our correspondent, Kenya Johnson, has the story.
In a packed room at the Harriet G. Darnell Senior Facility, older residents listened as county law enforcement and justice partners explained the seriousness of elder abuse in our community.
I don't think that we can truly appreciate the epidemic of elder abuse without first exploring how deeply this crime affects our community.
According to Georgia's legal aid, elder abuse is a term referring to any knowing, intentional, or negligent act by a caregiver or any other person that causes harm or a serious risk of harm to a vulnerable adult. It's a crime that the Solicitor General's office knows all too well, which is why Solicitor Keith Gamage addressed the group.
There are people these days preying on our seniors, and we want to make sure that we arm them with the information to be protected against those who come after our seniors with scams and ripoffs.
Under Georgia law, abuse may be physical abuse, inflicting or threatening to inflict physical pain or injury on a vulnerable elder, depriving them of basic need, or non-consensual sexual contact of any kind. There's emotional abuse, inflicting mental pain, anguish, or distress on an elder through verbal or nonverbal acts. Then there's neglect, failing to provide essential services that result in harm or threatens to harm elders. And there's financial exploitation, the illegal or improper use of an elder's resources for another's profit or gain.
Anytime a senior feels that there is something that just doesn't seem right, a sweepstakes offer, a phone call, a letter that appears to be from a government entity, but they get that funny feeling and are unsure about it, particularly if the folks are asking or soliciting a contribution or donation. They should immediately call our office.
Seniors here say they were happy to get the information and are now well aware of how they can not only protect themselves, but also protect each other.
I have firsthand knowledge of someone whom I think may not be getting the special attention that she needs, and I think I'll be able to maybe offer some advice.
Advice that could save someone from being the next victim. Reporting for Restorative Justice, I'm Kenya Johnson.
Thanks, Kenya. Again, it was a pleasure speaking with the seniors at the Darnell Center about ways we can all help to protect our aging citizens. Please contact our office if you are a victim of elder abuse or if you suspect someone is being abused, and we can get you in touch with the right law enforcement division or family service provider. to address your claim. As we continue our conversation about protecting citizens, I'm joined by a leading civil rights activist here to shed his perspective about the future of criminal justice reform and how we can learn lessons from leaders of the past and the present. Today we have with us Reverend Dr. Albert Brinson, now serving as Associate General Secretary, retired, of the American Baptist Churches USA, having served as a minister for more than 40 years and now serving as Pastor Emeritus. Reverend Brinson, Martin Luther King Sr. and Jr. served as your surrogate family throughout your childhood.
Right.
Would you tell us, sir, what effect that relationship and what you learned from that family and the movement had on your life's work?
Well, it wasn't the movement, so to speak. We all came along together after my father left my mother when I was about 8 years old. And the King Seniors, Martin Luther King Sr. and Alberta Williams King, became surrogate parents for me. And so they had 3 children, Christine, the oldest, ML, and then AD. And they were like brothers and sisters to me. And she, as the only one still left, is still, and we occupied that same role on a daily, weekly basis. We're still family.
That is fascinating. So sitting at the foot of that kind of wisdom, what effect has it had on your life's work?
I would have to say it's probably had the profoundest impact on my life because they were my models. I learned how to be a big boy from AD and from ML and another one of their friends, William Bell, who's dead also now. But Reverend King Sr. became that father image for me. And I mean, totally. When I say that, the spankings and everything else, you know. So, but he was always such a giver and a carer and a loving, humorous man. And he was a strong father figure. So ML Jr. came along after him, but being influenced by the same things, you know. He didn't just spring forth out of the head of Zeus, you know. He didn't grow up saying, I'm going to be a civil rights leader. No, that was not it, you know.
And so are you suggesting that is the tradition of the family structure that produces greatness among us?
Well, yes, it was a family structure, but it was also a strong black man image. And a year or so ago, we went down to Stockbridge where Reverend King Sr. was born. And they named a trail after him. You know, he walked on a railroad track all the way from Stockbridge to Atlanta. And he didn't go to college until he was fully up in age.
Wow. One of the things I note about you is that you've been very involved in minority and at-risk communities through your ministries.
Right.
What type of justice concerns do you think we face today, and what type of reform would you like to see folks like me, prosecutors, implement?
When I was growing up, we had, you know, as far as a colored boy here in Atlanta, Georgia, in the midst of segregation back in the 40s and 50s, et cetera, and 60s, there was always a fear of law enforcement in terms of colored boys and colored men. I'm not to say that women were not subjected to some of the same things, but the major targets were the Negro men. And the colored boys. And I still, to this day, when I can get in my car and riding down I-20, just regular through communities. And I'm always cautious of the fact, having lived in places like in New York for more than, worked with New York and housing and all kinds of things, and in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and Virginia Beach, and Norfolk, where my kids are still at present. Basically, there was always, for me, I'm always looking over my shoulder. I was trained to do that.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Brinson.
And you know why?
Tell us, please.
Because we were the targets, and we still are.
And so with that in mind,
yes,
born 1938 here in Atlanta, Georgia,
right,
reared at the foot of the King family,
right,
having graduated Morehouse and stood firmly through, marched in the civil rights movement.
right.
What should folks positioned like me do with regard to the issues that you see in criminal justice today?
Well, I think one of the things we have to face it, the fact that it is an issue. And that while it has changed and some things have been advanced, we are still basically doing the same kind of things. I have one son who's not well, I raised as a son, took care of him from the time he's 12 years old, who is a supervisor and for New York State, lives in North Babylon, Long Island. And we are on constant daily texting and everything else about some of the things he's having to deal with. He's my personality, but he's not your typical, true blue line person in terms of the police department, and we still have to deal with that. We're still dealing with the same things, and we know the truth about things, but we don't speak up. But we are not helping it as a people. I don't think we're helping ourselves. Our young people so often are undisciplined and disrespectful, but they learn that from us.
What is your advice for my generation, those folks positioned to lead now? What do we do with regard to helping our young people stay out of jail, stay in school, and stay on track to success?
Well, I would say that, first of all, listen to the older people. Learn about your journey. Whether your schools teach it to you, the true journey, the true story or not, let them know that when we walked into this room, when we stood on this floor, that it didn't fall in because someone else had already laid the foundation. And teach them how to reach across to one another instead of just always pop as we become addicted to all the gadgets, etc. But your generation perhaps now holds the key to changing a lot of things. We sit here today because of some of those changes. I don't know whether we were talking about this before, but I remember when even in the police department, when the first Negro policemen were hired, and they placed them down at the Butler Street YMCA, the YMCA in our Fourth Ward community, and but they could not arrest white people.
So now we have a change in the times.
Right.
And we have more diversity in positions of power.
Right.
And I know that the King movement and the Civil Rights movement focus greatly on all people coming together.
Right.
And we're still working toward that.
Are we?
Tell me your opinion on it, please.
I think we are doing what we have to do. I think opportunities are opening as they have to open up, so to speak, now. But we are, without maybe being aware of it, we are poised to reach and look back. And I won't say anything to intimidate anybody or to incriminate myself. But this is not, this is a time to be aware. Your generation represents the training, the education, the desire to step up and be brave enough to be, not just for yourselves, but to recognize that you are doing something for your people, and not just black people, but for all people.
And I think that's a great final word, that we've got to be engaged in being focused on ensuring that all the rights of all citizens and all people are protected in every way.
Right.
Starting with our elders and going all the way down to our youngest people. Right. Thank you for coming on our show. As we continue our work in our Fulton County communities, I look forward to partnering with you to bring our restorative justice initiatives to your networks, and especially focus on protecting our most senior folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
My
Mercer.
pleasure. Thank you.
That's all the time we have today. We invite you to join us on our website and social media. Be sure to sign up to receive the Gamage Report, our quarterly newsletter. I'm Solicitor General Keith Gamage. Until next time, please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Solicitor. We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of Fulton Law and Justice. Stay with us. Fulton County has committed itself to serving its residents in 6 priority areas. The strategic goal for Fulton's justice partners is making sure that all people are safe. On Fulton Law and Justice, we'll show you how Fulton's law enforcement and justice partners are doing that every day in how they serve and in the programs they provide to enhance the lives of people young and old. Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition of Fulton Law and Justice. I'm Jolene Butts Freeman. We'll see you next time.